Hello, again, I just found an article about science. It's on Wikipedia, of course, so I will read about this discovery. We have a short teen reader who studied about Earth science for 26 years. His name is Dr. Mr.Kkrabs. But first let me wipe my ass. On the comments section of this video. There, I wiped my ass. Now I feel like a true scientist. Woohood, yuck, I just got some corn shit on my hand when I wiped my ass. Now I need to wipe this corn shit of my hand from my ass, and I continue. Here is our host, Mr.Kkrabs.
Earth's dog shit crust is Earth's thin outer shell of rock, regarding for less than one of Earth's dog shit reddies in volume. It is the top component of the doggy shit, dog shit, doggy shit, lithosphere, a division of Earth's shit layers that includes the crust and the upper part of the mantle. The shit lithosphere is broken into shit tectonic plates whose motion all those shit hate to escape from the interior of the Earth into space shit. Here's a quote from Queen Elizabeth.
It's always good to eat dirty cups of dog shit and cat shit.
The shit crust lays on top of the mantle. A configuration that is stubborn because the upper dog shit mantle is made of pyridotite. No, we'll leave the paragraph alone with you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Scientist. I have learned to be a man who is proud of eating human fucking waste. Shit. Doggy. Shit. Science is the question to shit. Theory. Shit, black holes, shit, science equipment. There is no question, it's shit. Shit. Because both continental and oceanic crust are less dense than the mantle below, both types of crust float on the mantle. The surface of the continental crust is significantly higher than the surface of the oceanic crust, due to the greater buoyancy of the thicker, less dense continental crust, an example of isostasy. As a result, the continents form high ground surrounded by deep ocean basins. The continental crust has an average composition similar to that of andesite, though the composition is not uniform, with the upper crust averaging a more felsic composition similar to that of dacite, while the lower crust averages a more mafic composition resembling basalt. Fuck you, white honky viewers. The most abundant minerals in Earth's continental crust are feldspars, which make up about 41% of the crust by weight, followed by quartz at 12%, and pyroxenes at 11%. 8. Continental crust is enriched in incompatible elements compared to the basaltic ocean crust and much enriched compared to the underlying mantle. The most incompatible elements are enriched by a factor of 50 to 100 in continental crust relative to primitive mantle rock, while oceanic crust is enriched with incompatible elements by a factor of about 10. The estimated average density of the continental crust is 2.835 g/cm3, with density increasing with depth from an average of 2.66 g/cm3 in the uppermost crust to 3.1 g/cm3 at the base of the crust. In contrast to the continental crust, the oceanic crust is composed predominantly of pillow lava and sheeted dikes with the composition of mid-ocean ridge basalt, with a thin upper layer of sediments and a lower layer of gabbro. Earth formed approximately 4.6 billion years ago from a disk of dust and gas orbiting the newly formed Sunday. It formed via accretion, where planetesimals and other smaller rocky bodies collided and stuck, gradually growing into a planet. This process generated an enormous amount of heat, which caused early Earth to melt completely. As planetary accretion slowed, Earth began to cool, forming its first crust, called a primary or primordial crust. 13. This crust was likely repeatedly destroyed by large impacts, then reformed from the magma ocean left by the impact. None of Earth's primary crust has survived to today. All was destroyed by erosion, impacts, and plate tectonics over the past several billion years. 14. Since then, Earth has been forming secondary and tertiary crust, which correspond to oceanic and continental crust, respectively. Secondary crust forms at mid-ocean spreading centers, where partial melting of the underlying mantle yields basaltic magmas and new ocean crust forms. This ridge push is one of the driving forces of plate tectonics, and it is constantly creating new ocean crust. That means that old crust must be destroyed somewhere, so, opposite a spreading center, there is usually a subduction zone, a trench where an ocean plate is sinking back into the mantle. This constant process of creating new ocean crust and destroying old ocean crust means that the oldest ocean crust on Earth today is only about 200 million years old. In contrast, the bulk of the continental crust is much older. The oldest continental crustal rocks on Earth have ages in the range from about 3.7 to 4.28 billion years, 16, 17, and have been found in the Narrier Gneiss terrain in Western Australia, in the Acasta Gneiss in the Northwest Territories on the Canadian Shield, and on other cratonic regions such as those on the Fennoscandian Shield. Some zircon with age as great as 4.3 billion years has been found in the Narrier Gneiss terrain. Continental crust is tertiary crust, formed at subduction zones through recycling of subducted secondary, oceanic, crust. 15. The average age of the current Earth's continental crust has been estimated to be about 2.0 billion years. 18. Most crustal rocks formed before 2.5 billion years ago are located in cratons. Such old continental crust and the underlying mantle asthenosphere are less dense than elsewhere in Earth and so are not readily destroyed by subduction. Formation of new continental crust is linked to periods of intense orogeny. These periods coincide with the formation of the supercontinents such as Rodinia, Pangaea, and Gondwana. The crust forms in part by aggregation of island arcs including granite and metamorphic fold belts, and it is preserved in part by depletion of the underlying mantle to form buoyant lithospheric mantle. Crustal movement on continents may result in earthquakes, while movement under the seabed can lead to tidal fucking stupid cocksucker son of a bitch piece of fucking shit waves. To all of you, fucking stupid teachers, out there, I hope this video makes you fuck a tree like a scientist. Because I'm not pulling this fucking shit. Shit is science. Shit is physical science. Shit is earth science, and life science is shit. So piss off if this video doesn't make you feel happy. I don't care what the fuck you think, bitch. I don't give a fuck about the viewer. I will keep fucking with you and your so-called scientists. My message for the viewer is science is fucking shit and piss. Try me, YouTube, take me down, motherfucker, do it. Fucking bitch. Take this video down, you son of a bitch. Who gives a fuck about the views? Science is for niggers and gangsters.